The massive space station Nexus Prime floated in the void between two dying stars. It was the size of a small moon, built from the combined efforts of 847 different alien species. Inside its gleaming metal halls, the most powerful beings in the galaxy gathered for another routine meeting. Council leader Vextari stood at the center of the great chamber. His blue skin glowed softly under the artificial lights. 6 arms moved gracefully as he spoke to the assembled crowd. Representatives from across the galaxy sat in floating chairs that adjusted to each species' unique body shape. "We have discovered another primitive world," Vextari announced. His voice echoed through the chamber's translation systems. "The species calls itself human, and their planet Earth. They live in the Sol system, approximately 26,000 light-years from our current position." A low murmur ran through the crowd. Ambassador Krelnax from the Trade Federation raised one of his 4 hands. His insect-like head clicked as he spoke. "What is their technological level, Council Leader?" "Primitive chemical rockets," Vextari replied with amusement. "They have barely reached their own moon. Our scouts report they use crude fusion for power and have not even achieved faster-than-light travel. They are completely unaware that other intelligent species exist." Laughter rippled through the chamber. To these beings, who had conquered the stars thousands of years ago, such limitations seemed almost comical. They traveled between galaxies as easily as the humans traveled between their cities. "Their planet contains valuable resources," continued Vextari. "Rare metals, water, and a breathable atmosphere. The humans number only 8 billion, concentrated on one world. They would pose no resistance to our standard annexation procedures." Ambassador Krelnax stood up, his wings buzzing. Softly, "I propose immediate annexation under Trade Federation authority. These humans can be relocated to appropriate worlds and put to useful work. Their planet will serve our mining operations well." Several other representatives nodded in agreement. The hegemony's military commander, General Thakmor, slammed one massive fist on his chair's armrest. "A demonstration of force should be sufficient. 50 ships appearing in their system will make them surrender immediately. Primitive species always do." Vextari smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "The motion is before the council. All in favor of sending a demonstration fleet to demand the humans' surrender?" Hands, claws, tentacles, and other appendages rose throughout the chamber. The vote was unanimous. Not a single representative opposed the plan. Why would they? This was standard procedure. The galaxy belonged to the strong, and these humans were clearly weak. "Excellent," Vextari declared. "General Thakmor, prepare your fleet. Standard annexation protocols. Give them one chance to surrender, then proceed with occupation." Far away in the Sol system, Captain Jiho sat in the command center of Watchtower 7, humanity's most advanced deep space monitoring station. He was a quiet man in his 40s with short black hair and calm brown eyes. The station orbited beyond Pluto, officially listed as a scientific research facility studying cosmic radiation. Jiho sipped his coffee and watched the sensor displays. His job was supposed to be boring. For 12 years, he had monitored empty space, looking for anything unusual. His crew of 30 scientists and technicians rarely had anything interesting to report. That changed when Communications Officer Nari rushed into the command center. She was young, barely 25, with long black hair tied back in a practical ponytail. Her hands shook as she held a data tablet. "Captain, you need to see this," she said, her voice tight with worry. Jiho set down his coffee and took the tablet. The display showed sensor readings that made his blood run cold. 50 objects were approaching the solar system at faster-than-light speeds. They were decelerating rapidly, heading directly toward Earth. "How long until they arrive?" Jiho asked, already knowing the answer would be bad. 18 hours at current. "Speed," Nari replied. "Captain, these readings, they're artificial. Those are ships." Jiho stared at the display for a long moment. Humanity had always wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they had their answer, and it was arriving with 50 warships. "Send a priority message to Solar Defense Command," he ordered. "Full encryption. Tell them we have visitors, and they don't look friendly." Nari's fingers flew over her console. "Message sent, Captain. Should we attempt contact with the approaching fleet?" Jiho considered this carefully. First contact with an alien species was supposed to be humanity's greatest moment. Scientists had dreamed about it for centuries. But this didn't feel like a peaceful meeting between equals. 50 ships suggested conquest, not diplomacy. "Prepare the first contact protocols," he decided. "But keep all defensive systems ready. Something about this feels wrong." As the hours passed, more details became clear. The alien ships were massive, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built. Their technology was far beyond human capabilities. They moved through space with ease, manipulating forces that human science barely understood. General Thakmor stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Destroyer of Worlds. He was 3 meters tall with gray skin like stone and muscles that could crush steel. Around him, his crew prepared for what they expected to be a routine intimidation mission. "Time to arrival?" he growled. 16 hours, General, his navigation officer replied. "The primitive system appears to have several rocky planets and gas giants. The inhabited world is the 3rd planet from their star." "Good. Deploy in standard. Formation when we arrive. Maximum visual impact. These humans need to understand immediately that resistance is futile." Thakmor had done this hundreds of times before. Primitive species always reacted the same way when faced with superior technology. First came shock and fear, then desperate attempts at negotiation, finally, complete surrender when they realized how outmatched they were. "What do we know about their military capabilities?" he asked. His intelligence officer, a thin creature with large eyes, consulted his datapad. "Minimal, General. Chemical rockets, basic nuclear weapons, and primitive kinetic projectiles. Their most advanced ships barely reach their own moon. They pose no threat to our forces." Thakmor nodded with satisfaction. This would be even easier than usual. The humans probably didn't even have proper space-based defenses. His 50 ships could conquer their entire planet without breaking formation. Back on Watchtower 7, Captain Jiho received a response from Earth. The message was brief and coded, but its meaning was clear. Solar Defense Command acknowledged the threat and was implementing emergency protocols. All military forces were moving to high alert status. "Captain," Nari called from her station, "I'm detecting some unusual energy signatures from the asteroid belt." Jiho frowned. "What kind of signatures?" "I'm not sure. The sensors are picking up massive power fluctuations, but there's nothing visible on optical scanners. It's like something huge is powering up, but we can't see it." Before Jiho could respond, another message arrived from Earth. This one carried authorization codes he had never seen before. The message was simple. "Maintain normal operations. Monitor approaching fleet. Do not take aggressive action. Additional assets are being deployed." Additional assets? Jiho wondered what that meant. As far as he knew, humanity's space-based military consisted of a few orbital defense platforms and some armed shuttles. What could possibly stand against 50 alien warships? The alien fleet continued its approach, confident in their superiority. They had no idea that their arrival had triggered protocols developed over decades of careful planning. Deep in classified bunkers on Earth, systems that had waited patiently for this moment began to activate. In the asteroid belt, something vast and terrible stirred to life. Deep beneath the Pentagon, Admiral Hyunwoo stood in a room that officially did not exist. The Solar Defense Command bunker was buried 300 meters underground, protected by layers of steel, concrete, and electromagnetic shielding. Only 12 people on Earth knew about this place. Hyunwoo was 55 years old with graying hair and sharp eyes that had seen too many classified briefings. He had spent his entire career preparing for this moment, hoping it would never come, but knowing it eventually would. The universe was too big and too old for humanity to remain alone forever. The message from Watchtower 7 glowed on his main screen. 50 alien ships approaching Earth. Estimated arrival in 17 hours. Captain Jiho's report was clear and professional, but Hyunwoo could read the worry between the lines. "Sir, we have confirmation from 3 other monitoring stations," reported Colonel Sang-hoon, his second in command. "The signatures are consistent. Definitely artificial. Definitely hostile formation." Hyunwoo nodded grimly. "How long until the Titan project assets are ready?" "Dr. Mina reports they can be operational in 6 hours," Sang-hoon replied. "All crew members are already in position." The Admiral touched a control on his desk. "Get me Dr. Mina. Priority channel." The wall screen flickered to life, showing a woman in her 40s with tired eyes and oil-stained hands. Dr. Mina stood in what looked like a massive hangar, but the curved walls and strange lighting suggested it was somewhere very unusual. "Admiral," she said without preamble, "I assume you're calling about our visitors." "Status report, Doctor. Can the Indomitable be ready in time?" Dr. Mina smiled, but it was not a happy expression. "Oh, she's been ready for 3 years. We've just been waiting for an excuse to wake her up. The crew is already aboard and running final system checks. The Titan project had begun 28 years ago when deep space sensors first detected signs of advanced civilizations in nearby star systems. A small group of scientists and military leaders had reached a terrifying conclusion. When first contact finally happened, humanity needed to be ready for war, not just diplomacy. They had worked in absolute secrecy, using resources officially allocated to asteroid mining operations. The best minds from dozens of countries had contributed to a single, impossible goal: build a warship that could fight the entire galaxy if necessary. "Doctor, I need to know honestly," Hyunwoo said. "Can one ship handle 50 alien vessels?" "Admiral, you're thinking too small," Dr. Mina replied. "The Indomitable wasn't designed to fight 50 ships. She was designed to fight 50,000. These visitors are about to learn why humanity has been hiding in the outer system for so long." In the asteroid belt, disguised within a hollowed-out rock the size of Manhattan, the UES Indomitable slowly came to life. Commander Tae-hyung stood on the bridge, watching status displays that showed systems beyond anything the galaxy had ever imagined. Tae-hyung was 42 years old, selected from thousands of candidates for his perfect combination of tactical genius and unshakable calm. He had trained for this moment for 15 years, but nothing had prepared him for the reality of commanding humanity's ultimate weapon. "Engineering report," he said into his headset. "All systems nominal, Commander," came the voice of Chief Engineer Soo-jin. She was somewhere deep in the ship's belly, surrounded by reactor cores that burned hotter than the surface of the sun. Antimatter containment stable. Quantum drives responding perfectly. We're ready to show these aliens what human engineering can do. The Indomitable was 15 kilometers long and 3 kilometers wide, but its size was the least impressive thing about it. The ship's hull was made from materials that didn't exist in nature, arranged in molecular patterns that made it nearly indestructible. Its weapons could crack planets, and its defenses could survive direct hits from stars. Weapons status? Tae-hyung asked. All antimatter cannons charged and ready, replied Weapons Officer Do-hyun. He was the youngest member of the senior staff at 31, but his understanding of destructive force was absolute. Point defense networks online. If these aliens want to fight, we can give them one they'll never forget. Navigator Yoonji looked up from her console. She was brilliant with numbers, able to calculate trajectories through space-time that would make alien scientists weep with envy. Commander, I have optimal intercept courses plotted. We can reach the enemy fleet in 4 hours if we leave within the next 30 minutes. Tae-hyung studied the tactical display. The alien ships were maintaining a standard attack formation, approaching Earth with the confidence of predators who had never met serious resistance. They had no idea that humanity's most advanced military assets were not on Earth at all, but hidden throughout the solar system. How many crew members are aboard? He asked. 12,000, Commander, Soo-jin replied over the comm. Every department fully staffed. We have the best pilots, engineers, scientists, and soldiers that humanity has ever produced. This crew could run a small country. The Indomitable was not just a warship, but a floating city. It had manufacturing facilities, research laboratories, living quarters for families, and enough supplies to operate independently for decades. The ship was designed to survive even if Earth itself was destroyed. Commander, incoming priority message from Admiral Hyunwoo, announced Communications Officer Kyung. The Admiral's face appeared on the main screen. Commander Tae-hyung, you are authorized to intercept the approaching alien fleet. Rules of engagement are at your discretion, but remember our primary goal. Demonstrate that humanity is not helpless, but avoid unnecessary destruction. Understood, Admiral, Tae-hyung replied. We'll give them a demonstration they won't forget. Good hunting, Commander. Earth is counting on you. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in focused silence. Every officer knew what was about to happen would change human history forever. For the first time, their species would reveal itself to the galaxy not as primitive newcomers, but as equals who demanded respect. All stations, prepare for departure, Tae-hyung announced. Chief Soo-jin, bring the quantum drives online. Navigator Yoonji, set course for intercept with the alien fleet. Weapons Officer Do-hyun, prepare all defensive systems. Deep in the ship, massive engines that manipulated the basic forces of reality began to spin up. The Indomitable had been completely invisible to all sensors while powered down, hidden among the asteroids like a sleeping giant. Now, as its systems activated, the ship began to phase in and out of normal space-time. Quantum masking field activated, reported Science Officer Minji. We are now completely invisible to all known sensor types. The aliens won't see us coming until we want them to. The Indomitable slowly moved away from its hiding place among the asteroids. To any observer, the massive ship simply did not exist. Its quantum masking technology bent light, gravity, and electromagnetic radiation around its hull, creating a perfect cloak that made it undetectable. Time to intercept? Tae-hyung asked. 3 hours and 47 minutes, Yoonji replied. We'll arrive at the edge of their formation just as they reach Mars orbit. Tae-hyung nodded. The aliens expected to find a defenseless planet populated by primitive humans using chemical rockets. Instead, they would encounter the most advanced warship ever built, crewed by 12,000 of humanity's finest and armed with weapons that could reshape solar systems. "All hands, this is Commander Tae-hyung," he announced over the ship's communication system. "Today we make first contact with an alien species. They come to our home with weapons, expecting us to surrender without a fight. They are about to learn that humanity does not surrender, and we are not as primitive as we appear. Prepare for combat operations." Throughout the ship, 12,000 crew members acknowledged the order and prepared for humanity's first interstellar war. The alien fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Sol system with the precision of a military machine. 50 warships arranged themselves in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming with weapons that could burn continents. At the center, General Thakmor's flagship broadcast its presence like a predator, announcing its arrival. Fleet Commander Zixthol, Thakmor's second-in-command, studied the primitive solar system on his tactical display. The third planet from the star showed signs of industrial civilization, radio transmissions, satellite networks, and the heat signatures of large cities. It looked exactly like hundreds of other primitive worlds they had conquered over the centuries. "Begin standard intimidation protocols," Thakmor ordered from his command throne. "Target their most advanced orbital facility and demand immediate surrender." The alien sensors quickly identified Watchtower 7 as humanity's most sophisticated, space-based installation. To them, it looked laughably primitive: basic fusion power, simple communication arrays, and no visible weapons. The perfect target for their opening move. Captain Jiho watched the alien fleet approach on his main screen, feeling his heart pound despite his years of military training. 50 massive ships moving in perfect formation, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built. Their technology was clearly far beyond human capabilities. "Captain, they're scanning us," Nari reported from her communication station. Her voice was steady, but her hands shook slightly as she worked her controls. Multiple targeting beams focused on our station. "Any response from Earth?" Jiho asked. "Solar Defense Command acknowledges our reports but orders us to maintain current position," she replied. "They want us to attempt first contact protocols if the aliens try to communicate." Jiho nodded, though he wondered what Earth's military leaders could possibly do against such overwhelming force. Humanity's most advanced weapons were nuclear missiles that moved slower than these alien ships could probably fly backwards. The alien fleet settled into orbit around Earth's moon, their formation designed for maximum psychological impact. Each ship bristled with weapon systems that glowed with barely contained energy. The message was clear: surrender or face annihilation. Commander Zixthol activated the fleet's main communications array and aimed it at the primitive human station. His voice carried the authority of a galactic empire that had conquered 1,000 worlds. "Primitive humans of the Sol system," he announced, his words automatically translated into various Earth languages. "I am Fleet Commander Zixthol of the Galactic Council. Your species has been selected for annexation under Council authority. You will surrender immediately and prepare for relocation to appropriate worlds." Captain Jiho listened to the translation with growing anger. These aliens had traveled across the galaxy to demand humanity's surrender without even attempting peaceful contact. They spoke like slave traders, not diplomats. "Transmission incoming from the alien fleet, Captain," Nari reported. "They're demanding our immediate surrender and..." Relocation. Patch me through to their main communication channel, Jiho ordered. Full translation protocols. Nari's fingers danced over her console. Channel open, Captain. You're transmitting to their entire fleet. Jiho took a deep breath and spoke the first words between humanity and the galaxy. His voice was calm and professional, but every word carried the weight of his species' dignity. This is Captain Jiho of Earth Station Watchtower 7. You have entered our solar system without permission and made hostile demands. This is Earth's response. You are not welcome here. Leave immediately. Aboard the alien flagship, Commander Zixthol's 4 eyes widened with surprise. In all his years of conquest, no primitive species had ever rejected their first offer. Fear usually made them beg for mercy, not demand that superior forces leave their system. Did you understand their response correctly? Thakmor asked, his massive form rising from his command throne. Yes, General, Zixthol replied. They have rejected our offer and ordered us to leave their system. Thakmor's stone-like face twisted into what might have been amusement. Primitive bravery. How? Refreshing. Show them what happens to species that refuse galactic authority. The alien fleet began moving toward Earth, their formation shifting into an attack pattern that had terrorized civilizations across the galaxy. Weapon systems powered up, casting an ominous glow across their hulls. The message was clear. Submit or be destroyed. On Earth, Admiral Hyunwoo watched the alien advance from his underground command center. Satellite feeds showed the massive ships moving past the moon, clearly heading toward humanity's homeworld. In a few hours, they would be in position to attack major population centers. Sir, should we activate the orbital defense platforms? Colonel Sang-hoon asked. They won't do much against ships that size, but at least we'll be fighting back. Negative, Hyunwoo replied. Our orbital defenses would only reveal our capabilities without causing significant damage. Let them think. We're helpless a little longer. The Admiral touched a control on his desk, opening a secure channel to the asteroid belt. Commander Tae-hyung, report your status. The Indomitable's bridge appeared on his main screen. Commander Tae-hyung stood calmly at the center of organized chaos as his crew prepared for humanity's first interstellar battle. All systems operational. Admiral, Tae-hyung reported. We're currently 2 hours from intercept position. The aliens have no idea we exist. Rules of engagement remain at your discretion, Commander. These aliens came looking for a fight. Let's give them one they'll remember. Aboard the invisible human warship, the crew made final preparations for combat. Chief Engineer Su Jin monitored power levels that would have amazed alien scientists. The ship's antimatter reactors produced more energy than some stars, all contained within magnetic fields that manipulated the basic forces of physics. Engineering reports ready for combat operations, she announced over the internal communication system. All weapon systems charged, defensive fields at maximum strength. These aliens picked the wrong species to threaten. Weapons Officer Do-hyun studied targeting data on his tactical display. The alien ships moved in predictable patterns, following standard galactic military doctrine. They had no idea they were about to face weapons designed by minds that thought differently about warfare. Target solutions calculated for all 50 enemy vessels, he reported to Commander Tae-hyung. We can disable their entire fleet in under 20 minutes if necessary. Navigator Yoonji monitored their approach vector, making tiny adjustments to keep the Indomitable positioned perfectly for maximum tactical advantage. The ship moved through space like a ghost, invisible to all sensors and completely silent. Optimal. Attack position in 97 minutes, she announced. We'll drop stealth directly in the center of their formation, maximum psychological impact. The alien fleet continued toward Earth, confident in their overwhelming superiority. General Thakmore stood on his bridge, watching the primitive planet grow larger on his main screen. Soon they would demonstrate the price of defying galactic authority. "Time to orbital bombardment position?" he asked. 43 minutes, General," his navigation officer replied. "Should we target military installations first or civilian population centers?" "Military targets," Thakmore decided. "We want the survivors capable of useful work. Destroy their orbital defenses and major military bases. That should convince them to surrender quickly." What the aliens didn't know was that humanity's real military assets were not on Earth at all. While they focused on the planet's obvious defenses, the most advanced warship in the galaxy moved silently toward them through the void. Commander Tai-hyung stood on the Indomitable's bridge, watching the alien fleet on his tactical display. Less than 2 hours. These invaders would learn that humanity was not the primitive species they expected to find. "All hands, prepare for combat," he announced. "We're about to introduce ourselves to the galaxy." Deep in the asteroid belt, the UES Indomitable finished its transformation from sleeping giant to active war machine. For 3 years, the massive ship had waited in silent darkness, disguised as nothing more than another piece of space rock. Now, as its crew brought system after system online, it became something that should not have been possible. Commander Tae-hyung stood at the center of the ship's command bridge, a space larger than most Earth buildings. Around him, holographic displays showed every detail of the approaching alien fleet. His crew of 12,000 worked with quiet efficiency, each person knowing their role in humanity's greatest moment. "Final systems check," Tae-hyung announced. "Chief Soo-jin, engineering status." 3 decks below, surrounded by reactor cores that burned with the fury of captured stars, Chief Engineer Soo-jin monitored power levels that would have made aliens say. Scientists question their understanding of physics. The Indomitable's antimatter reactors didn't just provide energy, they manipulated the basic forces that held reality together. "All reactors operating at optimal parameters," she replied over the communication system. "Antimatter containment field stable, quantum manipulation cores online. Commander, we're generating enough power to supply Earth's entire electrical grid for 6 months." The ship itself defied everything the galaxy thought they knew about engineering. At 15 kilometers long and 3 kilometers wide, it was less a ship than a mobile fortress designed to fight entire civilizations. Its hull was constructed from materials that existed only in theoretical physics textbooks, arranged in patterns that made it nearly indestructible. "Weapon status," Tae-hyung requested. Weapons Officer Do-hyun looked up from his tactical console, where targeting solutions for 50 alien ships glowed like deadly constellations. At 31, he was the youngest senior officer aboard, but his understanding of destructive force was absolute. "All antimatter cannons charged and ready," he reported. "Point defense networks online. Gravitational disruptors armed. Sir, we have enough firepower to crack a moon in half." The Indomitable's weapons systems were based on principles that the galaxy had never imagined. Instead of simple energy beams or kinetic projectiles, the ship could manipulate gravity, time, and space itself. Its main cannons fired concentrated antimatter contained in magnetic bottles that could penetrate any known defense. "Defensive systems?" Tae-hyung asked. Science Officer Minji checked her displays, monitoring fields that bent reality around the ship like armor made of physics itself. Quantum masking field at maximum efficiency, gravitational shield stable, temporal displacement. Buffers ready. Commander, we could fly through a star and come out undamaged. Navigator Yunji studied the three-dimensional tactical display that showed both fleets' positions in real time. Her calculations took into account gravitational fields, solar wind, and the curvature of space-time itself. Mathematics that would have amazed alien computers flowed through her mind like simple arithmetic. Optimal intercept position in 43 minutes, she announced. I recommend dropping stealth at exactly 50,000 kilometers from their fleet center. Maximum psychological impact while maintaining tactical advantage. Taehyung nodded, studying the alien formation on his main display. The 50 ships moved in perfect order, following battle tactics that had conquered civilizations across the galaxy. They had no idea they were being stalked by something that existed beyond their understanding of what was possible. Status of stealth systems? He asked. Complete invisibility maintained, Minji replied. Our quantum masking field is bending light, gravity, electromagnetic radiation, and even quantum particles around our hull. To their senses, we simply don't exist. The Indomitable moved through space like a ghost made of metal and physics. Its stealth technology didn't just hide the ship, it removed it from reality itself. The alien fleet could fire their sensors directly at the human warship and detect nothing but empty space. Communications from Earth? Taehyung asked. Communications Officer Kyung monitored encrypted channels that connected the ship to Solar Defense Command. Admiral Hyunwoo confirms the alien fleet is maintaining attack formation toward Earth. Estimated time to weapons range, 2 hours, 14 minutes. The alien ships continued their approach, confident in their overwhelming technological superiority. Their formation had terrified civilizations across the galaxy, and they expected these primitive humans to surrender the moment they realized how outmatched they were. General Thakmore stood on his flagship's bridge, watching Earth grow larger. On his tactical display, the planet looked peaceful from space. Blue oceans, white clouds, green continents dotted with the lights of cities. Soon those cities would understand the price of defying galactic authority. Any response from the planet? He asked. Negative. General, his communications officer replied. Their governments appear to be in emergency session, but no official surrender has been transmitted. Thakmore smiled, showing teeth like broken stone. Fear takes time to overcome primitive pride. They will surrender once we demonstrate our capabilities. What the alien general didn't know was that human governments were indeed in emergency session, but not to discuss surrender terms. Deep in classified bunkers around the world, military leaders coordinated with the Indomitable to ensure maximum impact when humanity revealed its true capabilities. Sir, should we begin preliminary bombardment of their orbital installations? Commander Zixthal asked. Their space station appears to be their most advanced facility. Not yet, Thakmore replied. Let them see our full formation first. Terror is more effective than immediate destruction. The alien fleet moved past Mars, their massive ships casting shadows across the red planet's surface. Each vessel bristled with weapons that could sterilize continents, and their combined firepower could reduce Earth to molten slag within hours. Aboard the Indomitable, the crew made final preparations for an encounter that would change galactics. History forever. Chief Sujin monitored reactor cores that contained forces beyond alien comprehension. Weapons Officer Do-hyun calculated targeting solutions with precision that would have seemed like magic to the approaching fleet. Time to intercept position? Taehyung asked. 37 minutes, Navigator Yunji replied. Dropping out of stealth. Directly in the center of their formation will put us within optimal range of all 50 ships simultaneously. Ta-Hyung studied the tactical situation one final time. The alien fleet expected to find a defenseless planet populated by primitive humans using chemical rockets. Instead, they were about to encounter weapons technology that would redefine their understanding of what was possible in warfare. "All stations, prepare for stealth disengagement," he announced. "In 37 minutes, we introduce ourselves to the galaxy." Throughout the massive ship, 12,000 crew members acknowledged the order and prepared for humanity's first demonstration of its true capabilities. They were about to show the galaxy that Earth's apparent primitiveness had been humanity's greatest deception. The Indomitable continued its silent approach, invisible to all sensors and undetected by any form of scanning. In less than 40 minutes, it would materialize in the center of an alien fleet like a mountain appearing from nowhere, fundamentally changing the balance of power in the galaxy forever. At exactly 50,000 kilometers from the alien fleet's center, the Indomitable dropped its quantum masking field. One moment there was empty space between the alien ships. The next moment, a mountain of metal and impossible engineering materialized. From nowhere, its 15-kilometer hull gleaming with weapons that radiated power beyond galactic understanding. The alien fleet's reaction was immediate and chaotic. Sensor operators across 50 ships suddenly found their displays screaming. Alerts as something massive appeared in the center of their formation. The human warship was so large that it took their computers several seconds to calculate its full dimensions. "Report!" General Thakmor roared on his flagship's bridge. His stone-like face twisted with confusion and rage as his tactical display tried to process what it was seeing. "Sir, massive object detected in grid 77, his sensor officer stammered. 15.2 kilometers in length, approximately 3 kilometers wide. Unknown design, unknown technology. Sir, I don't understand how we missed something that large." Commander Zixthol stared at the tactical display in disbelief. The ship that had appeared was larger than their entire command squadron combined. Its hull was smooth and dark, covered with geometric patterns that seemed to shift and flow like living metal. "Analysis of their weapon systems?" Thakmor demanded. "Unknown, General," the weapons officer replied, his 4 hands shaking as he worked his controls. "I'm detecting massive energy signatures, but the power readings don't make sense. Sir, they're generating enough energy to power a small star." Aboard the Indomitable, Commander Tae-hyung stood calmly at the center of controlled chaos as his crew prepared for humanity's first interstellar battle. Around him, holographic displays showed the alien fleet's panic as they tried to understand what had just appeared among them. "All systems nominal," Chief Sujin reported from engineering. "Reactors stable. Weapon systems charged. Defensive fields at maximum strength. Ready for combat operations, Commander." Tae-hyung nodded and opened a communication channel to the alien fleet. His voice would be translated into their languages by systems more advanced than anything they possessed. "Alien vessels, this is Commander Tae-hyung of the United Earthship Indomitable," he announced, his tone calm and professional. "You have entered our system without permission and made hostile demands against our species. You have 30 seconds to begin withdrawal from this system, or we will demonstrate why humanity has remained hidden until now." The silence that followed lasted exactly 10 seconds before every alien ship in the fleet opened fire simultaneously. Plasma beams, particle cannons, and gravitational weapons unleashed their fury against the human ship with enough combined firepower to vaporize cities. The Weapons struck the Indomitable's defensive fields and simply vanished. Not reflected, not absorbed, but completely negated, as if they had never existed. The ship didn't even slow down as it began moving through the alien formation like a predator among prey. "Impossible," General Thakmor whispered. "Nothing can deflect that much firepower. What are we facing?" "Sir, their defensive systems are beyond our understanding," his science officer reported. "Our weapons aren't being blocked or absorbed. They're being deleted from reality the moment they contact their hull." Commander Zixthol watched in horror as the human ship passed within 2 kilometers of his own vessel. Up close, he could see details that made his blood run cold. The ship's hull was covered with weapon ports that glowed with contained fury. Each one was larger than his ship's main cannon. "All ships, concentrate fire on their propulsion systems," Thakmor ordered desperately. "Something that large cannot be maneuverable." The alien fleet repositioned and fired again, this time focusing all their weapons on the Indomitable's rear section. The result was the same. Their most powerful attacks simply ceased to exist the moment they touched the human ship's defensive fields. Aboard the human warship, Weapons Officer Do Hyun monitored the alien attacks with professional interest. "Commander, they're using plasma-based weapons with gravitational focusing. Primitive but effective against conventional targets. Should I respond?" "One demonstration shot," Tae-hyung ordered. "Minimal power. Let them understand what they're facing." Do-hyun smiled grimly and selected a single antimatter cannon from the ship's vast arsenal. The weapon was designed to crack planetary crusts, but he dialed its power down to the absolute minimum setting. Even at minimum power, the shot would demonstrate capabilities beyond alien comprehension. The Indomitable fired once. A beam of contained antimatter, barely as thick as a human finger, reached out across space and touched 3 alien cruisers that had been flying in close formation. All 3 ships simply vanished, deleted from existence so completely that not even debris remained. The alien fleet's formation collapsed into chaos. Ships that had maintained perfect order for decades now scattered like frightened animals as they realized they were facing something beyond their understanding of what was possible. "Casualty report," General Thakmor demanded, his voice hoarse with disbelief. "3 heavy cruisers completely destroyed, sir," his tactical officer replied. "No debris, no energy signatures, no trace they ever existed. The weapon that did this. Sir, I can't even classify what type of energy it was." "How many shots do you estimate they fired?" Zixthol asked. "1, sir. A single shot that somehow eliminated 3 separate targets simultaneously. The remaining alien ships tried to retreat, but they quickly discovered that the human ship was faster than anything they had ever encountered. The Indomitable moved through space with impossible grace, its massive bulk dancing between alien vessels with precision that defied physics. They're not letting us withdraw, Thakmor realized. All ships, emergency jump to hyperspace. Negative. Sir, his navigation officer reported with panic in his voice. Something is interfering with our jump drives. We're trapped in normal space. Aboard the Indomitable, Science Officer Minji monitored the gravitational distortion fields that prevented the alien ships from escaping. Jump inhibition field stable, Commander. They're not going anywhere until we allow it. Commander Tae-hyung studied the tactical display as alien ships fired desperately at his vessel. Their weapons continued to have no effect, while each shot from the Indomitable could eliminate multiple targets with surgical precision. Commander, incoming transmission from the alien flagship, Communications Officer Kyung reported. Put them through, Tae-hyung ordered. General Takmor's image appeared on the main screen. The alien general's stone-like features showed an emotion that rarely appeared on his face: fear. "Human commander," he said, his voice carefully controlled. We did not expect to encounter such advanced technology. Perhaps we can reach an understanding." Tae-hyung's expression remained perfectly calm. "You came to our system with 50 warships and demanded our surrender. You opened fire on our vessel without provocation. What understanding did you expect to reach?" "We were following standard galactic protocols," Takmor replied desperately. "When advanced species encounter primitive ones, integration is the normal procedure. We meant no harm to your people." "Primitive," Tae-hyung repeated. "General, you are facing one ship against your entire fleet, and your weapons cannot even scratch our hull. Which of us appears primitive now?" The alien general had no answer for that question. Around him, his bridge crew worked frantically to find some way to escape or fight back. But their most advanced technology was useless against human engineering that manipulated the basic forces of reality. "You have a choice, General," Tae-hyung continued. "Withdraw your fleet immediately and report to your Galactic Council that humanity is not interested in their integration protocols. Or continue this attack and discover what our weapons can do at full power." To emphasize his point, the Indomitable fired another minimal power shot that eliminated 2 more alien vessels with casual precision. The remaining ships huddled together, like frightened children, their crews realizing they were completely outmatched by technology they couldn't begin to understand. What followed could not truly be called a battle. Battles require 2 sides with some chance of victory. What happened in the Sol system was a demonstration of technological superiority so complete that it redefined the alien fleet's understanding of what was possible in warfare. The Indomitable moved through the scattered alien formation like a surgeon with a scalpel, each action precise and calculated for maximum psychological impact. Commander Tae-hyung had no interest in simple destruction. He wanted survivors to carry a message back to the galaxy. "Weapons Officer Do-hyun, disable their propulsion systems," Tae-hyung ordered. "Leave life support intact. I want prisoners, not corpses." "Understood, Commander," Do-hyun replied, his fingers dancing over controls that managed weapons beyond galactic comprehension. Switching to precision targeting mode, the human warship's point defense network came online, revealing another layer of impossible technology. Thousands of small weapon turrets emerged from the ship's hull, each one capable of independent targeting and firing. The aliens watched in horror as their incoming missiles were destroyed before their sensors could even track them. "Sir, they're intercepting our missiles while they're still in our launch tubes," reported an alien weapons officer, his voice high with panic. "They're shooting our weapons before we can fire them." General Takmor stared at his tactical display as red icons representing his fleet winked out one by one. The human ship wasn't destroying his vessels completely. Instead, it was surgically removing their ability to fight or flee. Engine cores went offline with perfect precision, weapon systems failed without damaging life support, and communication arrays shut down in carefully orchestrated sequence. "How are they doing this?" Zixthal demanded. "Our ships are being disabled by weapons we can't even see." "The human ship is using some form of directed energy that bypasses our shields completely," the science officer replied. "Sir, they're not hitting our hull. They're somehow reaching inside our ships and targeting specific systems." Chief Engineer Soo-jin monitored the Indomitable's performance from deep within the ship's engineering section. Around her, antimatter, Reactors hummed with power that could fuel civilizations, all focused on demonstrating humanity's technological supremacy. "Commander, all systems performing within optimal parameters," she reported. "We're using less than 3% of our total output capacity. We could maintain this level of engagement for approximately 400 years without refueling." The alien fleet's attempts at coordinated resistance collapsed as ship after ship found itself powerless and adrift. Their most advanced vessels, which had conquered star systems across the galaxy, were reduced to helpless metal shells floating in space. "Commander, the alien flagship is attempting to ram us," Navigator Yunji reported with something that might have been amusement in her voice. Tae-hyung looked at the tactical display where General Thakmor's massive command ship was accelerating, directly toward the Indomitable. The alien vessel was impressive by galactic standards, 3 kilometers long and bristling with weapons that could level continents. "Intercept course?" Tae-hyung asked. "Their ramming speed will bring them into contact with our hull in approximately 4 minutes, Yunji calculated. "Sir, at their current velocity, the impact will completely destroy their ship without scratching our armor. Disable their engines before they reach us," Tae-hyung decided. "I prefer my prisoners alive." A single shot from the Indomitable's tertiary weapons array reached out and touched the alien flagship's engine section. The massive ship's propulsion systems simply shut down, leaving it drifting harmlessly through space. General Thakmor's attempt at a heroic final charge ended with his ship floating dead in the void. "Sir, we've lost all power," the flagship's engineer reported to General Thakmor. "Main engines offline, backup systems offline, even our emergency batteries are dead. They've somehow drained every energy source on the ship." The general stood in the darkness of his bridge, illuminated only by the emergency lighting that drew power from chemical batteries the humans had apparently chosen to leave functional. Through his viewports, he could see the Indomitable hanging in space like a dark monument to impossible engineering. "Status of the fleet?" he asked quietly. 47 ships disabled and powerless," Zixthal replied. "Life support is functioning on all vessels, but we have no propulsion, no weapons, and no communication systems. Sir, they've effectively captured our entire fleet without killing a single crew member." The precision required for such an operation was beyond anything the galaxy had ever imagined. To disable 47 ships simultaneously while leaving their life support systems intact required technology that treated space combat like delicate surgery. Aboard the Indomitable, Commander Tae-hyung studied the results of humanity's first interstellar engagement. 47 disabled alien ships drifted helplessly around his vessel, their crews alive but completely helpless. It had taken exactly 17 minutes to neutralize the entire fleet. "Casualties?" he asked. "None on our side," Medical Officer Junho reported. "The alien ships report approximately 30 injuries from sudden deceleration when their engines failed, but no deaths. Their life support systems are stable on all vessels." "Damage to our ship?" "None detectable," Chief Sujin replied. "Their weapons never penetrated our defensive fields." "Sir, we haven't even used our primary armor. They were fighting our shields, not our hull." Tae-hyung nodded, satisfied with the demonstration, but aware that the hardest part was yet to come. Destroying an enemy fleet was simple compared to managing the diplomatic aftermath of revealing humanity's true capabilities. "Communications Officer Kyung, open a channel to all disabled vessels," he ordered. "Channel open, Commander." Tae-hyung's voice carried across space to 47 powerless alien ships, reaching crews who had never experienced defeat on such a scale. "Alien fleet commanders, this is Commander Tae-hyung. Your vessels have been disabled but not destroyed. Your crews are unharmed, and your life support systems will continue to function. In exactly 1 hour, we will restore minimal power to 3 of your ships, 1 command vessel and 2 escorts. These ships will be permitted to return to your territory. General Thakmor listened to the human commander's words with a mixture of relief and humiliation. He had commanded fleets that conquered star systems, and now he was completely at the mercy of a single enemy ship. The remaining 44 vessels will be held here for 72 hours, Tae-hyung continued. This will give your 3 messengers time to report to their superiors and return with proper diplomatic representatives. When they return, we will discuss the future relationship between humanity and your Galactic Council. What if they don't return? Zixthal whispered to his general. After 72 hours, all remaining ships will have their power restored and will be permitted to leave, Tae-hyung answered, apparently having heard the whispered question across the void. However, any future military vessels that enter our system without invitation will not receive such considerate treatment. The implication was clear. Humanity had shown mercy this time, but that mercy should not be mistaken for weakness. The next alien fleet to threaten Earth might not encounter such restraint. "Commander," General Thakmor transmitted, his voice carefully controlled. What are you?" Tae-hyung's response carried the weight of a species that had spent decades preparing for this moment. "We are human, General. We are Earth's children, and we do not surrender." 3 alien ships limped back toward Galactic Council space, carrying the most terrifying cargo in the galaxy: the truth about humanity. General Thakmor sat in his darkened command chair aboard his flagship, staring at sensor data that challenged everything he thought he knew about technology and warfare. Commander Zixthal worked frantically at a backup console, trying to make sense of the readings their instruments had recorded during the encounter. Every scan of the human ship had produced results that seemed impossible according to known physics. "Sir, I've reviewed our sensor log 17 times, the science officer reported. "The energy signatures we detected should not be possible. They were generating power levels equivalent to a main sequence star, but containing it within a 15-kilometer hull." Thakmor nodded grimly. "What about their weapons?" "Unknown technology, sir. Our computers cannot even classify what type of energy they were using. The weapons that disabled our ships bypassed every known defense system without actually impacting our hulls. It's as if they reached inside our vessels and turned off specific systems. The 3 ships traveled through hyperspace, carrying detailed records of humanity's technological demonstration. Every scrap of sensor data, every energy reading, every impossible maneuver by the Indomitable had been carefully recorded. The evidence was overwhelming and undeniable. "Time to reach Council." "Space?" Thakmor asked. 14 hours at current speed," the navigation officer replied. "Sir, what do we tell the Council? How do we explain that a single ship defeated our entire fleet without taking damage?" "We tell them the truth," Thakmor said quietly. "We tell them that we are no longer the apex predators of this galaxy." On Nexus Prime, Council leader Vexatari received the first emergency transmission from the returning ships with disbelief. The message was brief and coded, but its implications sent shockwaves through the galactic government. "Priority, alert, mission failure. Human species possesses advanced military technology. Request immediate emergency session. Full fleet neutralized by single enemy vessel." Vexatari read the message 3 times before its meaning fully registered. 50 ships of the Galactic Council's finest fleet had been defeated by one human warship. It seemed impossible, but General Thakmor was not given to exaggeration or panic. "Summon the full council," Vexatari ordered his aide. "Emergency session, maximum priority. And get me direct communication with Admiral Kethvar's main battle fleet. If the humans possess advanced military technology, we may need more than 50 ships." Within hours, representatives from 847 species gathered in the great chamber of Nexus Prime. The mood was tense and confused. Emergency sessions were rare, and the preliminary reports filtering through diplomatic channels spoke of impossible defeats and technology beyond understanding. When the 3 surviving ships finally docked at Nexus Prime, their crews were immediately taken into custody for detailed debriefing. What they reported challenged the fundamental assumptions upon which galactic civilization was built. The human ship materialized from empty space, Zixthal testified before the assembled council. "Our sensors detected nothing until it was directly in the center of our formation. The vessel was 15 kilometers in length, far larger than our heaviest dreadnoughts." Murmurs of disbelief rippled through the chamber. Ships that large required massive infrastructure to build and maintain. How could a primitive species that had barely reached their own moon construct such vessels? What was their military formation? Demanded Admiral Kethvar from his position in the military section of the chamber. "There was no formation, Admiral," Thakmor replied, his voice heavy with defeat. "It was one ship, a single vessel that defeated our entire fleet in 17 minutes." The chamber erupted in chaos. Representatives shouted questions in dozens of languages, while translation systems struggled to keep up. The idea that one ship could defeat 50 was beyond their experience of warfare. "Impossible," Admiral Kethvar declared. "No single vessel can defeat a proper fleet formation. You must have encountered multiple ships using some form of advanced stealth technology." "Admiral, I have commanded fleets for 40 years, Thakmor replied with dignity. "I know the difference between one ship and 50. We faced a single human vessel that possessed technology beyond our understanding." Council leader Vextari called for order as the chamber continued to buzz with shocked conversations. When relative quiet returned, he addressed the military officers directly. "General Thakmor, describe their weapons capabilities." "Their defensive systems negated our most powerful weapons completely," Thakmor reported. "Plasma cannons particle, beams, gravitational disruptors. Nothing we fired had any effect on their hull. Their own weapons could eliminate multiple ships with single shots while leaving no debris." "And their technology?" "Beyond classification, Council Leader. They demonstrated faster-than-light travel without hyperspace navigation, perfect stealth, capabilities, and power generation that exceeds theoretical maximums. Most disturbing of all, they showed precise control over their weapons that allowed them to disable our ships without harming the crews." The last point sent a chill through the chamber. Any species capable of such precision could have easily eliminated the entire fleet. The fact that they had chosen to spare lives suggested either mercy or confidence so absolute that they didn't consider the alien fleet a real threat. "What were their demands?" asked Ambassador Krelnax from the Trade Federation. "No demands," Zixthal replied. "They simply ordered us to leave their system. When we refused and opened fire, they demonstrated their capabilities. After disabling our fleet, they allowed 3 ships to return with a message." "What message?" "That future diplomatic contact should be conducted by representatives, not military fleets. They are holding 44 of our ships and crews as guests. until proper diplomats arrived to establish formal relations. The implications of this statement were staggering. The humans were treating the Galactic Council's premier military force as a minor diplomatic inconvenience. They had the power to destroy the fleet completely, but were instead using it as leverage for proper negotiations. "How do we respond to this?" Admiral Kethvar asked. "They have our ships and crews. Military doctrine suggests immediate retaliation, with overwhelming force." "With what forces?" Vextari replied grimly. "If their technology is as advanced as these reports suggest, sending more ships may only result in more hostages." Dr. Yil Noth, the Council's chief scientist, had been analyzing the sensor data brought back by the survivors. Her findings were even more disturbing than the military reports. "Council leader, I have reviewed the technical specifications," she announced. "The energy signatures recorded by our ships indicate the humans have mastered antimatter manipulation on a scale we believed impossible. They are using power sources that our best theoretical physicists claim cannot exist." "What does this mean for galactic security?" Vextari asked. "It means we are no longer the most advanced species in the galaxy," Dr. Yilnoth replied bluntly. "The humans have demonstrated technology that is centuries, possibly millennia, ahead of our own. If they choose to expand beyond their system, there is nothing in our current arsenal that could stop them." The chamber fell into stunned silence as the full implications of first contact with humanity became clear. The galaxy had always been ruled by the principle that advanced species had the right to dictate terms to primitive ones. Now they had encountered a species that appeared primitive, but possessed technology that made the Galactic Council's forces look like children with toys. "Recommendations?" Vexitari asked quietly. "Immediate diplomatic overtures," suggested Ambassador Veltar from the Diplomatic Corps. "We must establish peaceful relations before they decide we are a threat to their security." "Agreed, Admiral," Kethvar said reluctantly. "Military action against such technology would be suicide. Our only option is negotiation." As the Council debated their response to humanity's demonstration of power, word of the encounter spread through galactic communication networks. Within days, every major civilization would know that the balance of power in the galaxy had fundamentally changed. The humans had announced themselves not as supplicants seeking acceptance, but as equals who demanded respect. The galaxy would never be the same. 3 weeks after the encounter in Sol System, news of humanity's technological supremacy had spread across the galaxy like wildfire. On thousands of worlds, species that had considered themselves masters of space now faced a humbling truth. They were no longer alone at the top of the galactic hierarchy. Ambassador Hana stood in the diplomatic section of Nexus Prime, looking out through the massive, transparent aluminum windows at the star field beyond. She was 43 years old, with silver-streaked black hair and eyes that had seen too much history in too short a time. As humanity's first official representative to the galaxy, she carried the weight of her entire species' future. "Ambassador, the Council is ready to receive you," announced Aide Minju, a young woman who had been hastily trained in galactic diplomatic protocols. The entire situation was unprecedented. Humanity had gone from unknown primitive species to galactic power in the span of a single day. Hana nodded and walked toward the great chamber where 847 species waited to hear humanity's terms. She carried no weapons, needed no guards, and made no threatening gestures. The simple knowledge that the indomitable waited in Sol System was protection enough. The great chamber fell silent as she entered. Representatives who had ruled Star Systems for millennia watched with careful respect as a human woman walked to the center podium that had been reserved for the galaxy's most powerful beings. "Honored representatives," Hana began, her voice carrying clearly through the translation systems. "I am Ambassador Hana of Earth, speaking for the United Governments of Humanity. I come with a simple message. We seek peaceful coexistence with all sentient species, but we will defend ourselves against any aggression with whatever force is necessary." Council leader Vextari leaned forward in his chair, studying this human who spoke with such quiet confidence. "Ambassador, your species has demonstrated remarkable technological capabilities. The galaxy is curious about your intentions." Hana smiled, and there was something in that expression that reminded every observer of predators who had learned to be patient. "Our intentions are what they have always been, Council Leader. We wish to live in peace, explore the universe, and learn from other species. However, recent events have shown us that the galaxy can be dangerous for those who appear weak. The 44 ships held in your system," Admiral Kethvar interrupted. "When will they be released?" "They are free to leave at any time," Hana replied calmly. "However, their crews have expressed interest in studying human technology. We have agreed to limited cultural exchanges as a gesture of goodwill." The truth was more complex than Hana's diplomatic language suggested. The alien crews were indeed free to leave, but many had chosen to remain after seeing humanity's technological marvels. They were sending detailed reports back to their home governments, describing engineering that challenged their understanding of physics. Dr. Yilnoth, the Council's chief scientist, raised one of her tentacles. "Ambassador, our analysis suggests your technology is far beyond anything we believed possible. How long has your species possessed such capabilities?" "We have been developing our technology for many decades," Hana replied diplomatically. "Humanity learned early that the universe is vast and potentially hostile. We prepared accordingly." What she didn't say was that humanity had been watching the galaxy for 50 years, studying alien transmissions and preparing for the day when contact became inevitable. The Indomitable was just the beginning of humanity's secret military capabilities. "And if other species wish to acquire this technology," asked Ambassador Krell-Nax from the Trade Federation, "we are willing to share certain technologies through proper diplomatic channels," Hana replied. "However, our most advanced systems will remain under human control. I'm sure you understand the need for such precautions." The assembled representatives understood perfectly. No species shared their most powerful weapons with potential rivals. The fact that humanity was offering to share anything at all was more generous than galactic norms required. "What of territorial claims?" demanded General Rocktar from the hegemony, military. "Will humanity seek to expand beyond the Sol system?" "We have no immediate expansion plans," Hana replied. "However, we reserve the right to explore and settle uninhabited systems as we see fit. Any species that attempts to interfere with peaceful human exploration will discover that we take such interference very seriously." The message was clear. Humanity would expand when and where they chose, and the galaxy's opinion on the matter was irrelevant. The demonstration in Sol System had established that human wishes carried the weight of absolute technological superiority. Council leader Vextari stood up slowly, his 6 arms spread in a gesture of formal acknowledgement. "Ambassador Hana, the ball. Galactic Council officially recognizes humanity as a sovereign species with full rights to territorial integrity and peaceful expansion. We welcome Earth to the galactic community as equals." Equals. The word carried enormous significance coming from beings who had never before acknowledged any species as their equal. The galaxy's power structure had been fundamentally altered by humanity's demonstration of technological supremacy. As the formal ceremonies concluded and Hana prepared to return to Earth, the real consequences of first contact began to ripple through galactic civilization. Trade routes were immediately rerouted to avoid Sol System, not from fear of destruction, but from the humbling knowledge that humanity could reshape galactic trade patterns at will. Military planners across the galaxy began desperate research programs to understand human technology. Species that had warred for millennia suddenly found themselves united in a common realization. They were all equally helpless against capabilities they couldn't comprehend. The psychological impact was even more profound than the technological one. For thousands of years, the galaxy had operated under the assumption that advancement was gradual and predictable. The appearance of humanity shattered that assumption, proving that somewhere in the darkness between stars, species could develop capabilities that transcended known limits. Commander Tae-hyung stood on the bridge of the Indomitable as it returned to its hiding place among the asteroids. His crew had performed flawlessly during humanity's first interstellar conflict, demonstrating capabilities that would be whispered about in alien military academies for generations. "Status of the alien ships?" he asked. "All 44 vessels have departed Sol System," Communications Officer Kyung reported. Their crews expressed gratitude for the educational opportunity and promised to recommend peaceful relations to their governments. Engineering status? Chief Engineer Su Jin's voice carried satisfaction over the internal communication system. "All systems operating perfectly, Commander. We're ready for whatever comes next." What came next would depend on how the galaxy chose to respond to humanity's revelation. Some species would seek alliance and friendship. Others might attempt to develop countermeasures or seek ancient weapons capable of challenging human technology. A few might even try to attack, though such attempts would likely end badly for the attackers. Admiral Hyunwoo monitored the situation from his underground command center, watching as humanity's carefully planned revelation reshaped galactic politics. For decades, Earth's leaders had debated whether to reveal their true capabilities or remain hidden among the stars. The alien invasion had forced their hand, but the results were better than anyone had hoped. "Sir, we're receiving diplomatic requests from over 200 species," Colonel Sang-hoon reported. "Everyone wants to establish formal relations with Earth." "Process them through normal diplomatic channels," Hyunwoo ordered. "But make it clear that Earth sets the terms for any agreements. We're not the desperate newcomers the galaxy expected to find." Dr. Mina stood in the hidden construction facility where the Indomitable had been built, already working on plans for humanity's next generation of warships. The galaxy had seen one human vessel and been awed by its capabilities. They had no idea that the Indomitable was merely the prototype for an entire fleet of such ships. "The galaxy has gone silent," she reported to Admiral Hyunwoo during their regular conference call. "Deep space monitoring stations report a significant decrease in interstellar traffic. Species are staying close to home while they figure out how to deal with us." It was true. Across the galaxy, the usual bustle of interstellar commerce and communication had diminished as civilizations turned inward to reassess their position in a universe where humanity existed. The comfortable predictability of galactic life had been shattered by the appearance of beings who could treat the galaxy's greatest military forces as minor inconveniences. The silence was not fear exactly, but rather the careful quiet of predators, who had suddenly discovered they were no longer at the top of the food chain. Every species was recalculating their strategies, their alliances, and their understanding of what was possible in warfare and technology. Commander Tae-hyung returned to his quarters aboard the Indomitable, looking out through a porthole at the stars that had once seemed so distant and unreachable. Now humanity walked among those stars as equals to any species they might encounter, protected by technology that turned science fiction into devastating reality.